I didn't I didn't do the react after the Dallas game. I was dispirited. It's not mean to mean to skip it, but the watching the game took something out of me. I I guess a lot of people expected the Jackets to be in this position that they're in. I expected them to be a little stronger. And all all of it since the the Anaheim overtime loss. They should have done better over the stretch. So they lost to Dallas. They showed some energy against Dallas. Overall, probably a relatively, they lost to a better team that played better and had more energy and had some guys on Dallas team like Jason Robertson that weren't really producing, find a way to step up against the Jackets. So Dallas did everything that they were supposed to. Dallas is a team that easily could be a Stanley Cup contender. So maybe you shouldn't feel too bad about losing to this team, but I don't know. If you ideally want to be a Stanley Cup contender, you should beat these kinds of teams. And then then we face Tampa, and we beat Tampa at home. Um, Tampa's also a team that people would expect to be better than the Jackets. And I saw like on social media they were saying about how Tampa doesn't feel like they gave a real game. Which fine, it's okay for Tampa to be upset about the kind of game that they played. They should be. Um, as a Jackets fan, I'm upset about the kind of game the Jackets played, winning that game. Um, which is weird because in both the Dallas game and the Tampa game, in the Tampa game, Elvis was outstanding. In the Dallas game, Elvis was kind of mediocre, and I probably could have and should have gone through the goals to look at them and evaluate Elvis's positioning and whether or not how much of these goals are on Elvis. I did look at some of Elvis's expected goal numbers, including for the Dallas game, and they're pretty average. They're about where the expected goals are supposed to be. Um, some games he's been better than others. I don't have that for the Tampa game. I think that I don't think that there's a single thing that Elvis could have done on either of the two weird bounce goals. One of those goals was a bounce in off a shot that ended up getting deflected off of Jake Bean's skate. And the other one was a weird deflection that to the guy on the side of the crease where Elvis didn't have a chance to get it. Both goals kind of in quick succession for Tampa, both of them kind of weird puck luck. Um, and at the same time, the Jackets got good puck luck in that game and managed to win with good puck luck. I'm happy they managed to win. It's a team that is hasn't shut the door on very many games so far this season. They've been very close in a lot of games, and this is an opportunity in the Tampa game to really shut the door. Um, and I just feel as a unit they are they don't feel like they have enough firepower for where they should be. Um, and they don't seem to have answers. They don't seem to have guys stepping up Let me talk about some of the guys on the team and what I've seen from them specifically. Dmitry Voronkov. Um, Dmitry Voronkov has got a couple of goals. He's proven that he can score goals in the NHL. He's a big guy. He's proven that he's not intimidated and that he's willing to get into around a dirty area. I think I see him as a role player, sort of a more of a power forward, more of a somebody who could get around the net. I don't know if has played in the KHL around the net. Um, a little bit like Boone Jenner as a player. I think he'll be fine, but I don't think he's not impressed me with his offensive talent. In a similar way to where Boone Jenner took a really long time to go on me, and I still got frustrated with Boone Jenner a lot of times. Um, but you need guys like that, and I think Voronkov will be fine, but I don't think you can expect too much from this player. Kirill Marchenko got in the score sheet. This is good. Kirill Marchenko looked pretty bad for a couple of games. He looked bad in the Dallas game. He looked much better in the Tampa game. He was faster. It's weird to say because I think that the Tampa games, of a lot of the Tampa game, was pretty listless from both sides. Both sides played kind of matching each other's lack of energy for much of the game. And there are spurts in which different guys came out of the lack of energy that they showed. And Kirill Marchenko was one of them. And I was happy to see that. I need to see, he needs to, all of these guys need to play with more energy more of the time. And Marchenko certainly does, and he needs to be confident in his game, and he needs to be willing to shoot the puck in dangerous ways that might not work out all the time. Probably he will be able to get there. He should be a veteran guy that understands what he can. I mean, he's not that much of a veteran, but he's had enough success that he understands what he's capable of doing, and he needs to avoid the sophomore slump. Ken Johnson was sent down. Speaking of sophomore slump, today, and Yegor Chinikov was called up from Cleveland. Ken Johnson still is on entry level contract options, so he has no waiver eligibility. This is perfectly fine. Ken Johnson was playing. So much of the team in the past week has been playing quite listless at times. Ken Johnson was definitely guilty of playing without much energy, just kind of going through the paces and hoping the puck is going to get to him and hoping that he can do something with it. Like Pascal Vincent has been talking about in his interviews, it's a go get the puck kind of league. You don't have the puck, you need to go get the puck. I did not see all of that drive from Ken Johnson, so I'm 100% fine with him being benched as he was, and then him being sent down. There are other guys that, like Chinikov, who should be good. He needs to be good for this team. Will fill that roster space, and Ken Johnson will. I don't know. Ken Johnson, I've always regarded as a complete wild card. We don't know what Ken Johnson is, and having seen Ken Johnson play for a while, I still don't really know what Ken Johnson is. He's a skillful guy, but he's not. He's kind of an inconsistent player. He's not. His skill is not on display all the time, and maybe that's a coaching thing that he can get through. I don't know. It doesn't always seem to work with everybody, but sometimes coaches can get through to these players then and keep them on top of the system that they want them to be playing, and on top of their game in such a way that allows them to have the intensity to play hard all the time. Maybe that's something you can coach into some players, but not every guy seems to react to that. So we'll see with Ken Johnson. Johnny Gaudreau Another guy that got on the score sheet. And Jeff Rimmer and Jody Shelley were talking about, hey, it doesn't matter, they don't ask how many, they ask, or they don't ask how they got in, they ask how many. It doesn't matter that you get an empty net goal, you got a first goal, and that can let you relax. It's an empty net goal. How is an empty net goal going to build his confidence? And also, does Johnny Gaudreau need know that he's doing enough things that he needs to build his confidence? It kind of looks to me like he does. It looks a little bit to me like he's one of those guys who's gotten old, and people, like, there are players that you don't expect to fall off, and then suddenly they're not there anymore. They just fall off a cliff. I don't know that Johnny Gaudreau has fallen off a cliff, but it looks like he's gotten older and has slid down the slope, shall we say. Um, maybe Gaudreau will be fine. Maybe he needs to keep doing what he's doing, needs to keep getting chances. I don't know how much Pascal will coach shot selection. Um, that's something I wish that coaches would do, is at least think about it sometimes. Is like, shots are not all created equal. Find ways to keep, and they usually just want you to shoot. And fine, but at least you can try to shoot in areas. Don't simply shoot right at the goaltender's chest, because he probably will be able to catch that puck. Um, I always want to see elevated shots from guys, and that's something from I've I haven't gone to look at all of Gaudreau's shots on goal, but I feel that a lot of it is not elevated shots, not necessarily high percentage shots that he has been failing to get goals on. Um, there was a moment, I can't remember which game it was, where he had a prime chance on I don't think it was the first pass in the sequence, but he tried to give it away to somebody else, where he had a prime lane to shoot the puck. And I understand that's the kind of player that he is. He wants to distribute the puck. The puck was eventually knocked away by somebody else. There was no scoring chance that resulted. You need to see from a guy like Gaudreau the ability to shoot the puck on his own, and to shoot the puck to make strong shots, elevated shots. You can do 5-hole shots as well sometimes, because sometimes you make 5-hole shots and you'll fool guys. But mostly you want to be able to elevate well. And Gaudreau historically has had really strong shots, really good ability to elevate, including on backhands. He's been a really dynamic player, and I think there's enough of a sample of his games. We've seen enough of it where he's done some good things. He's made some plays, created chances for himself. And he tends to try to distribute the puck, which is what he does. That's always been Gaudreau's game. So that's not a problem to distribute the puck, but you want to see him make quicker decisions and better decisions and score. And I think he's lost a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll just break out at some point. Elvis has been clearly able to keep the Jackets in games. Even if the Jackets have not won all those games, Elvis has been very good. Spencer Martin, who I expect nothing of, has been very good. You can ask more from your goaltender. This is the kind of Elvis that I was hoping to see, and the kind of Elvis that, if he could perform at this level, that I thought the Jackets are going to win a lot of games this season and push to be a playoff team. And I guess it's unclear right now what the path for that looks like. They need to start putting it together, and they need some other guys to step up and show that they have so that they have the offensive production that they seemed to have last year as their defense was falling apart. Um, but they haven't really done that. The East is pretty stacked. They would have a better chance if they played in one of the Western divisions. Um, I think there are a couple of playoff spots up for grabs in the West that are going to be. We'll see of some teams that are not off that should be better teams than the start that they've shown in the Western Conference get uh, get reclaimed by those teams. Edmonton has had a pretty bad start, and people expected them to be a better team than what they're showing. Minnesota has had a lackadaisical start. People expect them to be better than what they're showing. Calgary, perhaps even, has had a start that is much worse than what I expected. I thought Calgary would be maybe on the cusp, but they've looked pretty terrible. Seattle, I'm not super surprised, but anyway, there are going to be some teams that get into the playoffs in the West that maybe people didn't think were going to be there. That's not so in the East. If you try and map off what is the path for the Jackets to get to the playoffs, they're going to have to beat good teams. There's no way around that. Right now in the Metro, the New York Rangers are a playoff team. The New Jersey Devils, I'm all right. The New Jersey Devils are a playoff team. Fine. I wonder how deep the New Jersey Devils are, especially defensively, and I wonder about some of the players on the New Jersey Devils that other people do not wonder about. Uh, in particular, Nico Hischier. I am not sure what Nico Hischier is, but Jack Hughes is a star. So even if they got a player that isn't necessarily a superstar on the first time that they had that number one pick, the second time that they had that number one pick, they definitely got a veritable superstar. Probably New Jersey has enough firepower to be a playoff team, although I wonder about them. The New York Islanders look like they could be a playoff team with the way that they play this boring style of hockey. They play a trap, they shut the Blue Jackets completely down and put the game to sleep. They can probably do that to a lot of teams. The Carolina Hurricanes have not been playing exceptionally well this year, and I've watched very little of the Carolina Hurricanes, but one would expect them to be a playoff team eventually. So if the Jackets want to make the playoffs, there's wild card spots, but there's some teams in the Atlantic Division too that also think that they're pretty good teams, including Tampa and Florida. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida falls off the map. Ottawa thinks that they're a pretty good team, and they're making a case for themselves. Boston, Toronto are going to be in it. Buffalo, not who knows. Tampa is going to looks like probably they'll be in it. Montreal thinks they're a good team. We'll see about that. Anyway, Detroit, right? Detroit probably is a playoff team. So the Jackets need to be better than a whole bunch of these teams in order to make the playoffs. They need to win games like the games that they have not won over the past week. Speaking about which, whether the teams have been any good that they in the past week that they ended up losing to. Yeah, maybe the Islanders are pretty good. The Dallas Stars are pretty good. And maybe the Anaheim Ducks, who beat them in overtime, are a pretty good team that people have not respected. The Anaheim Ducks definitely look like they are saying, "Hey, we want to be a playoff team now." So maybe the Jackets shouldn't feel so bad about that. But again, you want to beat playoff teams. And then they didn't win against the Montreal Canadiens, who also say, "Hey, we think we want to be a playoff team." And I don't know if very many people are very sold on the Montreal Canadiens, who played with greater heart than the Jackets through the critical portions of that game, even though the referee also had some impact on the outcome of that game. Anyway, I'm dispirited with the team overall. I wanted to see better from them, and that's not what we got over the last two games. And so that's why I did this video reviewing the two games, and probably I didn't speak that specifically about some stuff happening in either of these games. I'm gonna probably not watch the game tomorrow against Washington super carefully. I probably will um, have it on my phone and do something else. Um, I'll watch highlights. Maybe I'll watch. I might be watching the game more carefully. I'm not sure. Um, and so I probably won't do a review video on that game specifically. I'll probably do the review video for both that game and the following one. Just like this. All right.